4. Hope you're ready today for your Friday's maths lesson. I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay, could you write today's learning objective and today's date, which is the 5th of the 2nd, 21, and today's learning objective to multiply 3 numbers and in brackets word problems. Well done. Okay, now we're going to start today with a little challenge. I've got two pictures on the screen here, and I'd like you to notice what is the same and what is different about these two pictures. Now remember, this is a maths lesson, even though I'm showing you two photographs. So if I can ask you to pause the video now and to think of all the ways that they are the same and that they are different. Well done. Okay, now you probably noticed that what is the same about these two pictures? Well, they're both photographs, that's the first thing. They both show pot plants, don't they? They both show pot plants that are sat in rows. And in both pictures, there are 3 rows of pot plants. They are also sat in columns. There are columns of the pot plants. They're also all green. The pots are all orange coloured. So those are things that are the same. There are also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 pot plants in this picture, and there are 18 pot plants in that picture. They are the same in that way. But what is different? Well, they are arranged differently, aren't they? If we think of these pot plants like an array, this array shows that there are 3 rows of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pot plants. So if we were going to write a calculation for this, it would be 3 multiplied by 6, which would equal 18. We're multiplying 2 factors together here, and they've got 1 product. However, in this picture, there are still 18 pot plants, but it is laid out slightly differently. This time we have 2 groups of 3 times by 3 pot plants. So this time we have a multiplication which is 3 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 2, which equals 18. So this time we have 3 factors which we're multiplying together to equal the product. Did you get the same answer? Okay, let's move on today. Let's remind ourselves. Now, yesterday we were looking at how to multiply 3 numbers together. We're going to be reviewing that today. So I'd like us to pause the video here and have a look at these 2 questions. You might want to do just review A, or you might want to have a go at this one as well. We'll call this one review B. Okay, this one I'd like you to fill out these STEM sentences. Count carefully how many counters there are in each group, how many groups there are, of how many rows and how many columns. And then have a think about this little statement here. 8 multiplied by 7 multiplied by 2 is more than 2 multiplied by 7 multiplied by 8. This is because it begins with 8 times 7, which makes a larger number than 2 times 7 in the second calculation. Do you agree with this or not? Can you give a reason? Pause the video now and have a go at that. Well done. Let's go through our answers now. I'm going to grab a pen. So let's have a look here. Here we have got 4. Oh, that's not a great colour. Let's try to change the colour. Let's go to black. Let's rub it out. Let's start again. Here we have, my pen doesn't want to work today. We have got 1, 2, 3 rows of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4 groups of that. So we have the multiplication 3 times 5 times 4. OK, we're going to take this first calculation. I'm going to do this one first of all. 3 times 5. 3 times 5 we know equals, or what's 3 times 5? That's right, it's 15. Now I've got 4 groups of 15. I know that 2 groups of 15 would equal 30, and then another 2 groups of 15 would equal another 30. And so 15 times 4, or 30 times 2, would equal 60. So I have in total 60 counters. Okay, now let's have a look at this statement here. Do we think this is correct? Do we agree? Well, let's have a look. If I first of all do this calculation, 8 times 7 times 2. Well, first of all, I started with this calculation, 8 times 7, which I know is 56. And then I'm going to multiply 56 twice by 2, and I'm going to make 112. Would it work the other way around if I just swap those numbers around? Let's have a look. Or 2 times 7 times 8. Well, if I start off with this, 2 times 7, which is 14, and then 14 times 8 would be 112. So the answer is exactly the same. It doesn't matter which order I put my factors in. The product is always going to be the same, no matter if I start with my largest number or my smallest number. Okay, now let's just remind ourselves a bit today about how to multiply three numbers together, which we did yesterday. We just want to remind ourselves. Here's the factor that I showed you earlier on. This is the one we've just looked at. Let's just remind ourselves how we got there. So here we have one group of 3 times 5, which would equal 15. And then we've got another one here, and another one here. Oops. And another one here. So we have got 4 groups of 15 in total, which is the same as saying 15, add 15, add 15, add 15, which we know is 60 because we just did it in our review. Another way of writing it, a more efficient way of writing it, would be 4 groups of 3 times by 5 equals 4 times 15, which would be 60. Okay, now if you need to practice it a little bit more from yesterday's lesson, perhaps yesterday you found it a bit tricky, I'd like you to pause now and do step 1. If yesterday you found that quite straightforward and you found you've got everything correct so far, you can jump over step 1 and carry on to the next part of the video. If you're doing step 1, pause the video now. Well done. Let's go through those 2 answers. So we're looking at these 2 questions here, looking at these arrays. So here we have got 2 groups of 4 multiplied by 6. We have one group here of 4 multiplied by 6, which is 24, and here's another group of 24. So we have 2 groups of 24 here. 4 multiplied by 6 times by 2 equals 24. Equals 24 times by 2. So the answer here would be 48. Here we have another group. We have 2 groups here of 4 times 4. So we have 16 in each one, 16 and 16. 4 times 4 times 2 equals the same as 16 times 2, which would equal 32. Okay. Now, yesterday we looked at some missing number problems as well. So let's just remind ourselves of these kind of questions. Here we have 2 factors, but one of the factors is missing, and we know the product. So we have to use these 2 factors here to work out what this missing factor would be. So first of all, let's do this one. And then I'm going to ask you to do this one independently. So we have 5 times 10. So I'm going to start off with that. I know that 5 times 10 equals 50. Now I want to get now from 50 to 150. So what would I multiply 50 by? To equal 150. 50 times what equals 150? Well, I know that 50 doubled is 100, so 50 times by 3 would equal 150. So my missing number here is 3. My second question, I'd like you to pause the video and have a go at this one now. 3 multiplied by 4 equals 48. Pause the video and have a go. Well done. So we're going to start with these 2 numbers here, these 2 factors. Let's start off with here. So 3 times by 4 equals, that's right, it equals 12. Okay, now we need to find our way from getting from 12 to make 48. So I would say 12 multiplied by missing number equals 48. Now I have to use my 12 times table. What would I multiply 12 by to make 48? That's right, it would be 4. So my missing number here, oops, pause the video now for step 2 and have a go at these calculations with the missing numbers. Well done. Now go through and answer your questions, please, using a purple pen or a different coloured pen. Good. OK, now let's try some word problems now. We're using the same principles, but we're going to be reading our questions. We're going to be highlighting the key numbers and words, and we're going to be calculating and answering using a sentence. So let's have a look at this question here. There are 5 boxes of cupcakes. Each box contains 2 rows of 4. How many cupcakes are there all together? OK, so let's the key words. We have got 5 boxes of cupcakes. Each one contains 2 rows of 4 cakes. How many are there all together? So let's have a look. So what is my calculation going to be? Why don't you pause the video now and write down what calculation you think it would be? Well done. OK, so my calculation would be 5 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 4. I'm going to start off with 5 multiplied by 2. That's a really easy calculation for me to do because 5 times 2 I know is 10. Now I'm going to take that 10 and I'm going to multiply it by 4. I know that 10 multiplied by 4 equals 40. Therefore I know that there are 40 cupcakes altogether. I'm going to write a sentence now that says that. Pause the video now and have a go at this question. I'm going to read it to you. There are 6 boxes of rolls. Each box contains 3 rows of 5. How many rolls are there altogether? Well done. Let's go through our answer. Now remember, for this question, you should have answered the question with a sentence. And if you've done brilliantly, you'll have said the stem sentence, I know this because. So there are 6 boxes of 3 rows of 5 rolls. 6 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 5. Now, first of all, I know that 3 times 5 is 15. 15 multiplied by 6, I know, is 90. So there are 90 rolls altogether. Pause the video now and have a go at step 3 and step 4. Now, before you move on to digging deeper, make sure you have answered the questions and answer them using a different colour pen if possible. Some of you might want to have a go at the digging deeper now, so pause the video and have a look at these questions. Don't forget to answer your questions before you hand them in today. So pause the video now and answer your digging deepers if you got this far. Well done, Year 4. I'm sure you've worked really hard this morning. I look forward to seeing your work later on.